my early influences were basically jazz. I met John Phillips when I was 15, and we discovered we both liked the same things. John had a particular love for men and women singing together. This is true, he was a Catholic boy, an altar boy, and he loved the sounds of the choirs. And we both discovered we liked the old groups like the Modernaires and the groups that Sinatra sang with. We both liked Sinatra. And there was a group called the Hi-Lo's, which most people don't know about, which is one of the most remarkable vocal groups that ever graced this planet. Clark Burroughs is still alive. He had a voice that had a range beyond the moon. They were extraordinary, and we loved them. We worked for about a year for a guy named Charlie Ryan, who had been 1/3 of a trio called the Smoothies that had a hit Urinal Smoothie back in around 1940, I think, 39. So he said, well, I'll give you our name, and you go work as a Smoothies. This was like 1959, 60, so the tail end of the nightclubs as being places to go. A lot of people don't realize that either, that clubs in the 40s, in the 30s and 40s were huge. I mean, they were literally and figuratively. And that's where you went to be entertained. And we worked a couple of those old clubs. I remember meeting Jimmy Durante when he was just leaving, and we were coming in as like opening act, and I was just, humming. A voice came over the intercom, and he said, I thought I was at the races. I mean, he was just a great ad-libber. And we sang, then we were singing pop stuff, like the Four Aces, but we're trying to go jazz. And then, I guess that's when we met Dick Weissman, and if you're a lover of folk music, you know who Dick Weissman is. There were two great 5-string banjo players, they're both still alive. One was Eric Weisberg, who's better known because his style was Earl Scruggs. The famous, I mean, that's the most familiar sound. Dick played what was called frailing or clawhammer banjo, and they always got mixed up, Dick Weissman and Eric Weisberg. Eric Weisberg also wrote Dueling Banjos, which became a hit. And when we met Dick in the Village in New York, for people who don't know what the Village means, he's the one that clued us in, I guess, to what real folk music was. And we realized that we had to get on the proverbial bandwagon. And Dick was very resistant to that. He was a purist. Like Seeger quit the Weavers because they got too commercial. I mean, it was such a weird world. You were either a purist, which meant you didn't have a very good voice and you couldn't really play, but you sang honestly. Or you went commercial. That was my impression. Or you went commercial, and the Kingston Trio was the epitome of commercial folk music, and the Weavers was the epitome of non-commercial folk music. And there was some basis to that because the Weavers showed up at all the labor rallies and they took the risks. Everybody put the trio down. Everybody put down the trio instrumentally, vocally, everything else because they were so successful. That was basically it, especially in the Village. Once again, the purists, who to me were the people with no talent, resented the Kingston Trio. It wasn't honest because Nick played a 4-string guitar. I mean, I even went through a period where I was saying crap like that, and they didn't. Their musicianship wasn't good. They didn't sing right. Exactly what Al was talking about with Timothy. They had a style which was intentionally casual. It was one of the things that made them so charming. They're 3 guys up there having fun. When you sing folk music, you either got to be political and step up, or you have fun. Like they had fun. They were like 3 college guys, and that wasn't by mistake. They sort of took that complete area. They made that their own, which we should have realized when we dressed in our little jackets and ties, but we didn't. Me personally, I thought they were fine. I mean, they weren't, I don't think they would have called themselves studio musicians. Only studio musician in the group I was in was Dick Weissman. I mean, that's a real honor to be called that. I don't think anybody in the Kingston Trio was that, at that level. I'm sure they would agree. I thought they were infectious. Okay, I won't make a joke, but I mean, they're, especially Nick. My God, he could get you going just the way he bounced. I mean, I never saw a human being who could bounce, especially when he was playing he would bounce. How the hell does he do that, you know? But he would really get you going. And then when John Stewart joined the group, he took over the role that Gard had done, where John was, I was talking to Buffy earlier, he was one of the funniest people ever. Very dry, never cracked a smile but when he was being funny. But he was absolutely wonderful on stage, and he could get the audience going with his dry humor. And Bob Shane, to me, has one of the most beautiful baritone voices ever in pop, folk, or anything else. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous voice. And damn it. Excuse me. I had a moment of jealousy there. He was really, is that. I mean, he's still there, you know, he's still here. So, no, they were great. They were stage performers, and they really were great. Well, they got the idea for the first pop festival, and where else to hold it but Monterey, because that's where the Monterey Jazz Festival was held. So John and Lou were in the process of going up to Monterey and dealing with the city officials, which was no easy task, of course. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Can we go through that again?
No.
Okay. I was tagging along some part of this to Monterey and back from LA, and John and I were looking for a recording project for me anyhow. So in the process of traveling back and forth to Monterey and listening to them talk about it, it was obvious to us, I know it was obvious to me, that there were going to be about 85,000 million people descending on San Francisco in the summer. This was about December, January of 66, 67, yeah. And I told John, I said, we really ought to have a song, record a song that says to all the young people who are going to leave school or graduate, or especially the young people who are coming to San Francisco, I said, you know, we should have some sort of song where we ask them or tell them gently to cool it, to make sure that they understand they're coming in where other people have lived for a long time and it's private property, and this isn't just a place to fulfill some sort of idyllic dream. Wow, I said idyllic too. I've said a couple of words today. And we thought about that for weeks. And John, I showed up at his house one day and he said, what do you think of this? And he played San Francisco for me. And I said, man, I love that, you know. So we sang that together for a while, or I sang it and he played it. And then we sang it for Lou, who loved it, and we recorded it. And this is back in the days when you could, just in the beginning of the days when you could go in and record a song anywhere, you didn't have to go through all the union, nothing against unions. No, that's not what I mean, but the unions were taking it so far that you couldn't touch the control board unless you're in a union. You couldn't touch this. So with the movement in LA, this is why everybody came to LA to record, all those silly rules got blown away, so that everybody could sit around the control board, or everybody could come in and play. And that was how the organic process of all that great music, in my opinion, came out. And so we went in, like, I think the next day, that would have been in March, late March, and recorded a track. And I recorded the vocals. Some friends of mine, I lived on Lookout Mountain Road, in Laurel Canyon, and they went out and picked some wildflowers. And I actually wore a what do you call it? Garland, yeah, of flowers in my hair when I recorded the vocal. And I had friends meditating in the studio when I sang it. That's very important to me that we went through all that. And then I guess they released the record as soon as they got it pressed. That's music term. And it was a hit, and people liked it.
Do you have a favorite Trio song?
Not really. It would probably be by Bob Shane if I did. Oh, yes, I do. Of course I do. Jesus, what's the matter with me? Chilly Winds.
Chilly Winds. Because
I was there when John Stewart and John Phillips wrote it. If you're interested in that. We were in a rowboat. It was in Sausalito, about 1961. And I think John Stewart had already taken the job with the trio. And I guess we were at this club called the Trident. And alcohol would have been involved in this. And we ended up in a rowboat in the marina there in Sausalito. Basically, John Stewart and John Phillips sat in the boat and wrote together, and I rowed to the extent that we went anywhere, you know. We didn't really go very far. Not if I was rowing. And they wrote this really beautiful song. And then I was telling Buffy earlier, the night of John Phillips' memorial at the Roxy here in LA would have been, I think, the 21st of March, or that week, when John Stewart left his beautiful wife's bedside and she was really ill, and made it down here for the memorial for his friend, which I've never forgotten. And he got up and he read this great poem that he had written. He was a great reader, you know, reciter of beat, I would call it beat poetry. And then I came out on stage with him and we sang Chilly Winds together. And that was, you know, I'm almost losing it now, but I really almost lost it that night.